Pittsburgh Steelers fans and, just NFL football fans. Welcome to the NFL playoff preview. From behind the steel curtain, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Along with me again this week is my very good friend, Nick Bellino. Nick, how are you?
Good afternoon, Bad. Great afternoon to all the fans out there. Conference championship weekend is here tomorrow, and it's unbelievable. I mean, it seems like yesterday watching NFL preseason and, making picks and getting excited and predictions and all that stuff. And next thing you know, here we are. We got 2 games, and then it's Super Bowl Sunday in 2 weeks. It's amazing how time flies.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely one of my favorite weekends of the year. Nick, I'm going to ask you to check your mic again like we did last week. We're getting some crackling there, and might be the connection going into your phone.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But lots of things to cover because there's 4 very good teams coming into this weekend. One that's a 6th seed. That it's pretty exciting going into this, knowing that they barely made the playoffs, and now they could make one of the biggest splashes. So that's pretty exciting to me, Nick.
And let me add this too. Timing and situation was great for the Titans because if you recall, Bad, which I'm sure you do, they played the Texans in Week 17, and the Texans were resting a lot of players, a lot of their stars. So it's a situation where they benefited from timing because with the Texans sitting everybody, the Titans went in, played extremely well, and had the benefit of playing some backups and got into the playoffs. Maybe things are different if the Texans are, playing all their players, but they, of course, were resting them up for the wild card. So, they benefited from that, but obviously they've taken full advantage because what they did Saturday in Baltimore was beyond impressive.
I know, and, I've been on the podcast a few times this week talking about how thrilled I was to watch Baltimore go down. So that's
I'm sure it was a wonderful Saturday evening for you.
Yes, it was. So you're hearing some noise in the background, and that's my daughter in the background. And I was going to wait to have her on the show, but we have a lot of noise in the background, so I'm wondering if that is. So I'm going to bring her over here now. And so no, you're not going to come on. Okay, so she was going to go ahead and okay, well, she's going to come on a little bit later, but. But so we'll go ahead and talk about these matchups. We have. I don't know what is making noise. Whether it's my microphone cords, maybe that's it. Every time I speak, something's.
Sounds better on my end now. I think Bad.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the noise is. Somebody's asking who's bad.
Hopefully, these 4 teams. Hopefully, one of them won't have issues with their headsets tomorrow. Whenever they're in their conference championship game.
Now they had that last week, but since it was a home team, I think it was the Ravens.
Yeah,
it was the Ravens game, so they don't have to turn off the Titans headset. But if it's the other way around, then that's what it is. So with that being said, let's go to the first game, Nick. So this is a game that's really intriguing to me because you had the Kansas City Chiefs last week. If we just went by the first quarter of that game, then we're talking about Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans. But what happened in that game to make this Andy Reid's chance to get back in it and finally win one?
Really bad. I can't. I honestly, not off the top of my head, I can't remember a crazier first half and a first half that really went at a 180-degree angle like the one at Arrowhead did last Sunday, where literally, what all could have gone wrong pretty much went wrong for the Chiefs in the first quarter. Tennessee takes advantage of it. But the one thing I continue to be so impressed with, you have a young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who patiently and confidently on the sideline was telling his teammates, relax, one play at a time, we're going to be fine. And in the second quarter, he throws 4 touchdown passes. And after that 24-0 deficit, the Chiefs go on to outscore the Texans 51-7 to move into the conference championship game. an absolutely remarkable turnaround when, again, in the first quarter, what could have went wrong for Kansas City went wrong. But the leadership of Mahomes, the play calling by Andy Reid, and really just great team communication and focus, the Chiefs were able to overcome. Really incredible odds when you think about it.
And it was absolutely incredible. So what I'm going to ask you, Nick, to go ahead when I'm speaking. Go ahead, mute your mic. Let me see if that works, because we're still having clicking, and
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly whether it's the feedback or what's happening, or if it's on my end. So let's try to figure that out. But I really thought that the decision for Bill O'Brien, he had two decisions in that game that I was really questioning. And the first one was when you are in an opportunity to go up big and you decide to take a field goal instead of a touchdown deep in your own territory. I don't have a problem with that. But when you make a decision to fake punt around your own 35 yard line and give them momentum when it's, I think at this point it's 24-7. Next thing you know, 4 plays later, after that fake punt fails, it's 24-14. And at that point, you kind of know that it's over, Nick. At that point, I'm thinking, Kansas City's down, but they're coming back and they are going to win in this game. The other thing was not being able to handle Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was the MVP of that game and really could be the MVP for them going forward. Nick, what do you think about that?
I agree on both counts. And I will say this too. I mean, 100% transparency here. If they go for it and don't get it, then it's O'Brien's fault. If they do the fake field goal and complete it, then it's a brilliant move. It's always if it works out, the coach is a genius. If it doesn't work out, the coach made a horrible mistake. I promise I will tell you, though, when I was watching it live, I did say with an offense like Kansas City, you got to score. If you have a chance to score 6 points, especially with an incredibly athletic quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who I think who could snap the ball, take a step or two, and dive through on the right on the line of scrimmage, or even straight in on the line of scrimmage behind the center and get a yard. I think you have to do that against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. And at the same time, to your point, this was the one that I really was surprised with and really didn't think was a good move. When momentum's turning like that, the odds of getting, especially in the NFL, a fake punt on your own 35, I believe it was, is a decision that I definitely disagreed with. And he has taken a considerable amount of heat in Houston this week, and really, have a lot of people calling for his job because of those decisions. But they've been at odds with Bill O'Brien for a while. Texans fans have for a year or two, and this certainly added a lot of gasoline to the fire.
Now, is his job in danger?
I think he's back next year. The problem too that I think he has bad is they've won the AFC South division now for, is it 3 consecutive years?
I would believe so. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's right. And he's now at a point there where you say, okay, it's time to take another step, and climb that mountain instead of winning the AFC South, always being, by the way, the wild card Saturday 4:35 game on ESPN. And I think that really maybe annoys Houston fans a little bit because, the running joke a lot of times on national sports radio is, I guarantee you that the Texans are going to hold on, win the AFC South, and Saturday's wild card will be at 4:35 right out of the gate. It won't be prime time, or it won't be Sunday afternoon. And I think that, if you roll all of that up, I think it makes it a situation where even if O'Brien would maybe win the AFC South, he would have to, I think, maybe go to the conference championship next year, to be okay with the organization and the fan base. I think they really want him to take a few steps, climbing the mountain, in the 2020 season.
Boy, has it been a rough sports week if you are in Houston this week. And so I'm thinking about this.
Unbelievable.
Now, could it be the curse of the Titans for both of these cities? Because think about this. The Titans go in and beat the New England Patriots. All of a sudden, well, we've got problems in Boston baseball. Now they go, and then actually not the Titans, but the Titans in week 17, they go ahead and beat the Houston Texans. And because of that, there's a situation that they're going forward and they are losing now to they are having many problems in baseball as well. So there you go. Can that be a part of it?
Well, I'll tell you, I can't remember really a tougher 7 day stretch for a city than Houston's had, because honestly, you have that feeling as a sports fan. I'm sure you've had it. I know I've had it. I'm sure people listening have had it, where your favorite team jumps out to an incredibly big lead and you literally just watch it slowly fall apart. And that's a terrible feeling, especially in the postseason or even a big game in the regular season when that happens. So you have to endure that on Sunday. And then you have the just catastrophic situation with the Astros, where, by the way, you're talking about a franchise, a once proud franchise that in the earlier part of last decade were horrific. I mean, just a franchise that was awful. And then they have great draft picks. They win the 2017 World Series. In 2018, they go to the ALCS, but have a great year. Last year, they win, I think, 109 games. I know they're well over 100. I believe it was 109 games. And lose a tough Game 7 eliminator to the Nationals. You talk about 3 great seasons, and now you have to hear so many people say, well, a major reason they did that is because they were cheating. So that's something to really, really add to a all in all really horrible week for Houston fans.
It indeed is. And I tell you what, we could talk about baseball all day long, especially this controversy and how it does possibly tie into football, but we can't because it's a championship game weekend and it's something really exciting. We're going to continue the talk with the Titans and the Chiefs going forward, and we're going to make our picks at the end of the show and see who is going to go ahead and meet in Super Bowl 54 in Miami. But in the meantime, I'm going to try something here. It might be a complete disaster, but I know Ali, who listens to our Steelers shows, I was joking about we might possibly do this, and he thinks it would be great. And the idea was in the off season for Steelers podcast, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to come up with because it's a long off season. So my daughter came up with the idea. Let's look at their hairstyles. And so I was thinking we could do that. So I was thinking from a 10-year-old's standpoint, when they're looking at this game, who are they going to pick? And they're going to pick for different reasons. You were telling me, Nick, about your nephew picking the NCAA championships because of something that he liked.
Many years ago, it was the 2010 NCAA tournament, and it actually was a good friend of mine's son, and he was just looking at a NCAA bracket at the start of the tournament, by the way, with his dad, and he would ask a lot of times about what their nicknames are, and a lot of the school's nickname, and he had the 8 seed out of, I think, then the South region maybe. But anyways, I believe they are an 8 seed then. I mean, it's been 10 years ago in March, but he had out of nowhere the Butler Bulldogs going to the national championship game, and he had them losing to Duke because Duke was his favorite team. And sure enough, the 8th seed Butler Bulldogs went to the national title game that year and lost to Duke. And the reason he had the Butler Bulldogs there is because his favorite dog was a bulldog. So
Gotta love it.
sometimes you don't need all the statistics. Sometimes you don't need to watch all the games. Sometimes you don't need, to maybe make some bold, predictions of who's going to be there. Sometimes it maybe is just, your favorite dog is a bulldog. So you know what? I think the Butler Bulldogs, an 8th seed, by the way, in a region, is going to go.
One of my favorite all-time shows is Cheers. And there was a 1983 episode where they were doing football polls every week. And Diane Chambers, who knew nothing about sports, she was winning the poll every week. And one was based on what state flower was the most dominant, or who had foreign versus American composers in their city symphony. So that's something
sometimes that's all it takes, Bad. Sometimes that's all it takes to know who's going to win a major game.
Exactly.
Symphony composers and flowers.
Exactly. So it's something that it's not a science, because we could be talking heads all day long and we could try to figure this out. And what happens on Sundays just happens on Sundays. So it's absolutely crazy. So I'm going to go ahead. This might fail miserably. And I've never had her on before, but we're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in 10-year-old 5th grader Jillian. Come, you got to come in here. So there you can see her. So you could go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
Okay, now you can say it louder than that. Now don't be shy now. Okay. So all right. So there are 4 games. There are 4 teams trying to get to the Super Bowl this weekend. Very important weekend. So
this weekend?
This weekend, yeah. So it's going to be the Titans and the Chiefs.
Tomorrow?
So tomorrow, yeah. So Daddy's gonna hog the TV tomorrow. Here.
Oh, I thought we were going to the Chickens.
Okay, so we might go somewhere tomorrow, but now let's go ahead and talk about this. So you have the Titans, where they are led by their running back Derrick Henry.
I don't like that name.
You don't like the name Derrick Henry? Say louder.
I don't like that name.
Why is that? You just don't like the name Derrick Henry?
No, I don't like the first name.
Okay, you don't like Derrick. Do you know somebody named Derrick that you don't like?
No, I just don't like the name.
Okay. So Nick, are you able to hear this? Is she coming in, or does she need to be louder?
Yeah, I can hear it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then Pat Mahomes is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's on the State Farm commercials.
I don't like those commercials.
You don't like those commercials? They talk about khakis. Okay, and you don't khakis, are khakis bad?
No, I just don't like the commercials. They put them on too much.
Okay, yeah, well, they do put those on a whole lot. So let's go ahead and look at these. So we're going to bring this first one up, and this is Patrick Mahomes, and I know you're big into fashion and hair. So what do you think about Pat Mahomes and his hair?
His hair looks like noodles.
Okay, please say it in the mic.
His hair looks like noodles.
But noodles are good. You had noodles for dinner yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So his hair looks like noodles. Nick, when you see Pat Mahomes, is that what you think of, that his hair looks like noodles?
No. I'll tell you, I wish I could grow my hair out like that. I wish my hair wasn't thinning and I could grow hair out like that. That would be really, really nice.
Okay. And so here we go. This is Derrick Henry, and who is having an amazing postseason. He is.
I don't like his smile.
What's wrong with his smile? Well, he's not smiling in this picture, but when he wins, he smiles a lot. Speaking of the mic, what do you think of his hair? That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Looks like my friend Carl's hair.
Speaking into the mic, please.
It looks like my friend Carl's hair.
Oh, your friend Carl's a good dude. Carl's a good football player too. I've seen Carl play football. So based on this, you're not sure about his smile, but his hair is cool and it looks like Carl's. So who is going to win if we have the Titans and the Chiefs? So the Titans are going to win. All right. So book that. Because Derrick Henry's, she's not sure about his name, but likes his hair, not sure about his smile, looks like Carl's, but he's going to win because it's better than macaroni hair. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You got to speak into the mic, honey. All right, we're almost done with this. Now, another State Farm guy, and I know you don't like khakis. It's this guy, Aaron Rodgers. Now, let me preface this with this is the guy that in about 10 years ago, 9 years ago to be specific, beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl and made Daddy very unhappy. I will tell you that.
Like his eyes.
What's wrong with his eyes?
He has wrinkles.
He has wrinkles in his eyes.
He doesn't smile, and his mustache is ugly.
Does not smile, and his mustache is ugly. Okay. Now, let me preface this, Jillian, that
and I don't like his jersey.
You don't like his jersey? You don't like the Packers jersey?
No.
Okay.
Because Mr. Brad likes the Packers.
Mr. Brad, our friend Mr. Brad likes the Packers, and so we're going to go against that. But now keep in mind that looks are just superficial, that we don't judge a book by its cover, and there's more to somebody. You know that. Okay. Oops. Ooh, gosh. Now, the last guy we have is one Jimmy Garoppolo.
That name's weird.
That name's weird? You don't want to be Jillian Garoppolo?
No.
Okay. So speaking of no, let's not call him ugly. Speaking of the mic, please. What do you think of Jimmy G? He's got a nice conservative haircut.
His nose is weird.
His nose is weird. Do you think really?
Yeah.
I think he looks normal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what, so we've got Jimmy G, and he's a nice, handsome young man, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like a young daddy, doesn't he? So, anyways, so who's going to win this game? We'll let you go after this.
Him.
So we're saying Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Even though his nose is weird.
Yeah.
But he's a handsome man, like a young daddy, right?
No. He's not. I don't like him though.
So
But I have to choose.
no to him?
No.
Okay, so you're saying that it's going to be the Tennessee Titans and the San Francisco 49ers based on your picks, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it for Jillian. You may go now.
Where's my hand? Oh, my hand.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letting me read that.
I'm not sure how that is going to look. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that, all these games can go 4 different ways. So she's got the Titans and the 49ers. So there you go.
Wow. I wish you would have spoke into the mic a little more. This is something that she's been saying she wanted to do. And I said, okay, we're going to do it today. So there you go. I mean, the things, because I'm looking at a picture of Jimmy G, and I'm thinking all I'm seeing is, wow, this is nice haircut, a handsome, strapping young man. And then I look at, and I always joke about Aaron Rodgers and his mustache. But I did not think that his eyes would be weird.
Well, there was a couple things that I think the mic was breaking up a little bit, so there was a couple things that I didn't hear. But so she thinks that the 49ers are going to win because she didn't like Aaron Rodgers' eyes.
Yes, and his mustache is ugly.
And his mustache is ugly. Gotcha. Okay, I was going to say some things I missed when she was talking. So there you go. So Aaron Rodgers' eyes may keep him out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. I don't think he dates supermodels, so I don't think they mind. And he dates
and Danica Patrick.
Patrick,
former Indy driver. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you really can't sleep on that, but that's what we went with there, and that might be a segment that will never be repeated on the show. But it looks like every word Dave Schofield of Behind the Steel Curtain says that every word came through on YouTube, so that's good. She is a lot louder at home than she is with a mic in front of her. And yes, Snowman, I agree. I've been told that I'm not allowed to use that word here because I used it way too much in the off season last year. But I'll let you say it. He does look like he can be in adult cinema. I will tell you that. So maybe that when he loses this weekend, he could probably do that. So with that being said, let's get back to that game, though. I really love what the Tennessee Titans are doing right right now. And I saw it on the live chat a little bit earlier where it was said that, he could wear you down in the fourth quarter, that being Derrick Henry. And it's a possibility that he can control the game with this rushing attack, that's all they need. Because if you're going to do anything to hurt the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's slow them down. Would you agree, Nick?
I think that, again, it's real smooth and impressive old school NFL playoff football. Dominating the ball dominating the offensive side, running the ball, using a lot of clock, keeping the opposing team's offense on the sideline, and a really, a defense that's really confident right now and really good play calling by the staff. Henry rushed for 182 yards against New England, 195 on 38 carries with Baltimore, which really took, a lot of air out of Baltimore's offense when, a lot of times that offense was on the sideline. Even though Baltimore did have 530 yards of total offense. I know they were behind, which a lot of times increases total offense, but they did have a lot of total offense, but they are, on the sideline a lot. So I don't know if there's an offense that it's more advantageous to keep on the sideline than the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, nobody knows that more than the Houston Texans does. And Derrick Henry's definitely a guy that can do that with, as incredibly well as he's running the ball. And, it allows, of course, Tennessee to really chew up a lot of clock. And the one thing I'm going to be really interested in, Bad, is obviously Kansas City's going to be tremendously focused on Derrick Henry. Is Ryan Tannehill going to be able, because more than likely he's going to have some one-on-one matchups to expose. Is Ryan Tannehill going to be able to make some plays, get the ball to guys like A.J. Brown and Corey Davis to really keep Kansas City's defense guessing? What's your take on that?
It comes down to the defenses, though. I mean, can he keep them guessing? That's true. But when it comes down to how weak is the Kansas City defense, would you consider them of the final four probably the lowest ranked defense of these four teams? They do have Tyrann Mathieu now. And he is a guy that has really, he's done what Minkah Fitzpatrick has done for the Steelers this year. He's come in and stabilized that defense and made them a lot better of a defense. But they're probably not going to have Chris Jones again. Mm-hmm. And Chris Jones up front,
huge loss, right?
That could really hurt them. So it's to me, it's not as much how Tannehill keeps them guessing, which that's really important. But it's how they divvy up the offense here with the run and the pass. And really, are they going to be able to stop him, Derrick Henry, enough that they make Tannehill just keep on having the pass? So if that happens, then the Titans will be in trouble. But the key to this whole game for me is, can the Tennessee defense slow down Patrick Mahomes?
Right. And, and again, their defense is really, they played pretty well, but they're not a total shutdown defense. Again, Baltimore had 530 yards of offense last week. And I know they are playing behind, which a lot of times, again, increases offensive yardage, but still, they had 530 yards of offense last week. And they're also playing, they were playing a Patriots team 2 weeks ago where that offense has really struggled. And we're talking about a absolute dynamic Chiefs offense, which, by the way, you got to think had, a lot of life breathed into them after scoring 51 points in 3 quarters last week when they were really dangling from a cliff, it looked like, and maybe getting shockingly eliminated by the Texans. And they can score at a blink of an eye. In fact, I believe all of their touchdowns last week averaged around 4 minutes time of possession, which is incredible in the National Football League. Also, whenever they played in the regular season, Tennessee did win in Nashville. However, that was right when Patrick Mahomes was coming back from his knee injury. He still threw for 446 yards and three touchdowns his first week back. So that shows you, I think, Kansas City's going to score, and they're going to score quite a bit tomorrow at Arrowhead.
So that over under being 53, what do you think about that? You're still, Nick, you're on mute.
You're right. I am on mute. Sorry about that. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I don't think it's going to be a, college football game like we have now where it gets to 51-44 or anything. But, I'll give my prediction in a little bit. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored because in week 10, it was 35-32 Titans. And I think that more than likely, these teams are going to score a lot of points again.
Is Pat Mahomes the next Tom Brady? Is this a guy that could win 4+?
It's a good question. I don't know. That's a lot of Super Bowls. I mean, that is a lot of Super Bowls.
Well, if he wins 3, that's.
I think in a lot of ways that if you win, 2's a lot more than 1, but I really think that if you get 3 Super Bowls, that really makes you stand out. That 3 versus 2 seems to be a real big gap for me as far as, winning world championships. And, Mahomes is a young guy. And I think also that Mahomes probably, in my opinion, truly, locked up the conversation of who's the best quarterback in the NFL. I think last week, I would have said he was number 1 before that, at this hour. But I think last week really sewn that up for him. I think he's the best quarterback in the league, and I don't think very many people would argue that.
Okay, let me go ahead, and I'm going to throw out 4 names here. And you tell me who is the most important player in this game for their team to win. I'm not saying the MVP of this game, the most important player. And of course, we just covered him, Pat Mahomes. I'm going to go in with Travis Kelce. We're going to go in with the Tennessee Titans, of course, Derrick Henry. And let me throw in another name, Jarrell Casey.
Those are all good ones. I think probably it would go Casey 4, Kelce 3, Mahomes 2, Henry 1. What do you think? That's how I would rank them 4 through 1.
I'm actually going to mix up 2 and 3 there because I think it's really and I could have gone other guys on defense too for Tennessee. That's who I think is one of their more dominant guys on defense. That's why I brought him up. But I'm going to go and say that I think Kelce is even more important in this game than Mahomes. And that's odd because, when you look at, fantasy football, you have to have the quarterback to go ahead and get those guys opportunities. But I really think what Kelce does is going to be even more important in this game for anything. So I'll go ahead and I'll say Casey, then Mahomes, then for this week only, Kelce, and then Derrick Henry. So let's talk about the coaches, though. Andy Reid's been around forever. I mean, people don't realize this. He's going on 20 years as a head coach in the NFL.
Yep. And
he's had that, he's had that one opportunity that he lost in Super Bowl, let me say 39, and back in the 2004 season with the Eagles, losing to the Patriots. But he's really he's had so many losses in the NFC Championship game.
Heartbreaking losses in the playoffs throughout his career.
Exactly. And a heartbreaking one in the AFC Championship last year. So Does he get it done? Or are we looking at Mike Vrabel as, he's studied under Bill Belichick. He played under Belichick and Bill Cowher, a Hall of Famer, and of course a future Hall of Famer. And we all know Bill Belichick is in the Hall of Fame. And even if he doesn't get voted in for some crazy reason,
I doubt that's
shenanigans.
I doubt that first ballot guy.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen either. But if more shenanigans come up, and then he gets the Pete Rose treatment or something like that, or the Barry Bonds treatment, the McGuire treatment. If that happens, which that's just for another conversation anyways, but he's a Hall of Famer and we all know he is. So with that being said, is Mike Vrabel one of the premier coaches in this league in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, or now?
I think he's got a great opportunity to be. But, the other thing about it is bad, and every coach will tell you this. You got to have players, and you got to have a lot of luck along the way as far as things go with injuries and, so many situational things that happen in games to where, a lot of times, things got to work out great for you. And, I think that's, obviously Vrabel's a young coach who has had tremendous success and has really, had a standout, coaching effort this year. But, it's a lot can happen from now until, 8 to 10 years from now down the road. So, so far so good. But, again, you got to have a little bit of luck on your side and the timing's got to be right. But, the sky's the limit for Mike Vrabel. I mean, he's done a fantastic job this year, and the future could be extremely bright for him.
Well, I really love this guy, and I think he's going to be a fantastic coach in this league. And he doesn't have to get through this weekend to be one, but he very well could. So let's get down to our picks for this game as we move on to the NFC Championship game. What are you thinking? Kansas City? Or is it the Tennessee Titans? Will we remember the Titans? Mike, you're on mute.
Well, I was just keeping you and everybody in suspense. That's what I was doing.
I used to do that all the time.
Like Ryan Seacrest, I was going to go to a commercial break to really keep everybody in suspense, but we're not going to do that today. I think Kansas City wins today. I like Kansas City to win. I like Kansas City to win 38-27. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think Kansas City's got tremendous momentum with their offense and what happened last week. And I think that really is going to have them locked in to really do well on the offensive side. I think offensively, Tennessee will get theirs too. I think Henry will probably run for north of 150 yards. I think Tannehill will make some plays. I think it'll be exciting, but I just think it'll turn into almost a bit of a track meet. And Kansas City's going to win 38-27.
Okay, I'm going to bring, we can't bring him up here, but Dave Schofield, who is in the live chat, we did the Steeler preview the other day, and we picked these games. And Dave, if you could remember what my final score was for this game, I went and picked the Chiefs, and my final score was, he'll back me up on this if he can see it, it was 38-27.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And for the record, you and I did not talk before this or during the week. I mean, I did not know that.
Unless it was 38-28, and I don't think so because I'm thinking field goals in there. I usually think that. So I'm going to go on record as saying that's what I put out there, 38-27 the other night, just Thursday night. So how about that?
Oddly enough, Bad, a good friend of mine and I were texting Monday evening before the national championship, Clemson and LSU. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Clemson 38, LSU 35. He said, "I have the same exact score." And obviously we were wrong Monday night. So we'll see how you and I's prediction does tomorrow. Yeah,
but great minds are thinking alike. Doesn't mean that they're going to be right, but they're thinking alike. There you go. Let's go out to San Francisco, or let's say Santa Clara, and Levi Stadium. And
about an hour from the city, by the way, an hour south of the city. Yeah, it is. They should be the Santa Clara 49ers, because if you're in San Francisco, it's usually a busy traffic drive down the freeway there too. It's not that easy to get there, but go ahead.
And then there's Dave saying, I think it was 38-27, but can't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure it was too. So Levi Stadium, a beautiful stadium, and has hosted a Super Bowl already. Will it host a Super Bowl champion this year, or maybe just a Super Bowl participant? And I'm thinking that the 49ers are back. But they're going against a team in the Green Bay Packers this is a team that's been there and done that. It's not the same coach. This is a rookie coach who is doing amazing things. And Mr. LaFleur's brother is on the staff of the San Francisco 49ers as well. So this is another brother against brother situation. Who are we looking at in this game to really make things happen for the Green Bay Packers? So of course it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to live and die with him, but he's got to have people working it out for him. So on that Green Bay offense, what is the key?
Well, a couple interesting things, Bad. Number one, I don't think it's going to be 38-9 like it was in the regular season. Number two, I don't think that defensive line will be able to get to Rodgers every single play, basically, when Green Bay's on offense, like they did in the regular season. Something interesting is that, Green Bay, of course, was 13-3 this year. Two of those losses, offensive lineman Bryan was out. And, a lot of the experts say a big reason that guys like Nick Bosa and his friends on the defensive line were able to get to Rodgers was that key offensive lineman was out and had the offensive line of Green Bay a little out of sync. Now, that's not to take away from Nick Bosa, Quan Alexander, DeForest Buckner, and the incredible season they've had. They've been a big, big reason that the Niners went from 2-14 to 13-3. This unbelievable shift in excellence in the 2019 season. However, I think that is a big key. Just if that offensive line can be a little more cohesive and give just an absolute dynamic future Hall of Fame passer like Aaron Rodgers some time in the pocket. Also, I think that if Jones and Williams can be productive running the ball, that can give Green Bay opportunities to really try to keep San Francisco's young defense guessing. So I think that's a big key, just if Green Bay can get in sync on the offensive side of the ball, whereas in the regular season, they were totally out of sync.
So you did not mention, there's two guys that you did not mention on the offensive side of the ball for Green Bay that I think are very important players as well. I think this is Davante Adams' year. Of course, he has to receive the ball from Aaron Rodgers.
He was brilliant last week.
But yeah, he looked like a man among boys. And if it wasn't for him, we're talking about Russell Wilson again this weekend. But here's a guy that you really don't think about that really came through for them last week, and it's Jimmy Graham. This is a guy, he's no longer a superstar, but he's helping them move the chains, and I think he is a big deal here. But if you have to put the guy status on anybody on this team, and it could be Aaron Rodgers, it could be anybody, who has to be the guy this weekend for Green Bay?
Oh, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think this is Aaron Rodgers' really, in a lot of ways, this is Aaron Rodgers' moment. He's not a young man anymore. A lot of people, I think, get caught up in the fact that he's only won one Super Bowl. And the other part about it is that's the only Super Bowl there you see Aaron Rodgers is joining us now, I think. But, he's only been to one Super Bowl. He's 1-0, but he's only been one time. And I think a lot of people are caught up in the fact, and for the record, I thought Aaron Rodgers would be at a few more Super Bowls by now too, but he hasn't. So this is a huge moment for Aaron Rodgers, because if there's one guy you can always ask, aren't you shocked, and will you forever be shocked with your time here on earth that you never went back to a Super Bowl? He always says yes, and that's Dan Marino. So Aaron Rodgers, who's 35 years old now, I think knows the opportunity he has, and I think he'll play very well tomorrow, and I think he's the guy that you got to look at. I know it's an easy one to pick, but I think that's definitely number one.
Now, can he get past the best defense out of this four? We talked about the worst defense out of this four, but by far the very best defense that is going to be showcased this weekend is that of the San Francisco 49ers. They looked like world beaters last week against a very good offensive team in Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. That's a very good offense. So is this defense led by, you mentioned Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner. I mean, the list goes on. And don't forget One of my X factors, and I'll just throw him out there right now. Richard Sherman is an X factor for this
Absolutely.
team.
Having an amazing year. By the way, first team All Pro. And I really do think that this season really locked Richard Sherman up to be a Hall of Famer. I think he was probably going to get in, but I think this season with the Niners, he's going to be going to Canton, Ohio. He's had a phenomenal year. And, San Francisco just defensively, has it's done an amazing job. And what's interesting is that this week Garoppolo, reflecting on his torn ACL, did say, one of the blessings of the torn ACL, obviously it was hard, obviously it was awful, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. Obviously it was awful tearing my ACL, but one of the blessings in disguise, we had the number 2 overall pick, and we got Nick Bosa.
There you go.
So, that is definitely a blessing in disguise, because that is a guy who I think probably is going to be just unbelievable as an edge rusher, from now until maybe, the next 10 to 12 years. Unbelievable edge rusher, Nick Bosa.
So can he penetrate this defense?
Yeah. I mean, I think those guys will get to Rodgers. I think they'll make plays, but I don't think it'll be near as dominant as it was that was unbelievable. I don't think it'll be near as dominant as it was in the regular season when they played.
All right. If we look at the San Francisco offense, we've got Jimmy G. But it's not just Jimmy G on this offense. We could talk about George Kittle just being absolutely amazing. He's on the mantle of the best tight ends in the game. And I think if we do have a Kansas City, San Francisco football, you have the 2 best in the league right now at the tight end position. And I'd probably think number 3 would be Zach Ertz. If I'm missing anybody, I do apologize. But when you think of tight ends, those are the guys you're thinking of right now. So I would say that George Kittle's going to get a lot of action in this game. But let's talk about that running game. It's still a 3-headed monster. Who's going to really have to show up, or can they just continue to use all 3 of those guys?
I think they can continue to use all 3 of those guys bad. And I'll tell you a guy who I think is going to play a really solid, nice role tomorrow. I thought it was a great acquisition. I think he's a great fit for this offense, is Emmanuel Sanders. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to do some nice things to get open and make a few plays on like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, where you really need that first down. I think Sanders is going to do a good job of getting available to make plays and take a little bit of the load off George Kittle with making plays to keep the Niners moving the ball down the field.
And here's something interesting. We talked about Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl 45. Emmanuel Sanders was in that Super Bowl, a rookie, got hurt in that game. Excuse me. And it ended up being a big injury for the Pittsburgh Steelers when Emmanuel Sanders went down in that game, because then you have Antoine Randall having to step up as that 3rd receiver. So that's something very interesting there. You don't expect him to want to get revenge for that game, but he might be thinking about that too as well. I think he does have his Super Bowl. He got it with the Denver Broncos, but Emmanuel Sanders has a chance to go back again too. And I think a lot of people on the Steelers side of the ledger would probably root for a guy like that. But here's the thing: when you talk about Steeler fans, and this is a Steelers show, and so I'm bringing this up, there's a huge sentiment with Steeler fans that they don't want San Francisco winning the Super Bowl, going to the Super Bowl, because they can get 6. Now, and tie the Steelers. Now, look, for me, my opinion is that record has already been tied, and it is up to the Steelers to go ahead and get 7 and not worry about who gets 6. So, with that being said, is that a good reason for Steeler fans to not want San Francisco in this game?
I don't think so. I think that you just focus on controlling your controllables. And, if you're a Steeler fan, as I was saying last week, I really think the future's bright. I mean, especially on defense. I mean, you got 3 guys that are under 25 years old. 2 were first-team All-Pros. I'll say that again. 2 were first-team All-Pros, which is an unbelievable honor, under 25 years old. And I think that, of course, Watt and Micah Fitzpatrick. And I think the sky's the limit for Devin Bush, too. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a first-team All-Pro this season. So you really have 3 superstars in the making on your defense. And whenever you have that opportunity where one's an edge rusher, one's a middle linebacker, and one can do pretty much whatever you want him to do in the secondary, that's when you can add pieces to those 3 guys on defense and really, maybe for the next decade, dominate teams with your defense. And then that gives the offense the ultimate flexibility to be able to control the clock, throw the ball when it needs to, and really allow your quarterback to steer the ship to where you can win a lot of games 17-6. So that's really important too in the playoffs a lot of times when you're maybe playing in freezing cold, windy games where you can just dominate the ball on the ground and then people have a horrible time trying to score on you. So that's what Steelers fans might be looking forward to the next decade. And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of wins to be celebrated in Pittsburgh.
Hey, we talked about the resurgence and reemergence of one Richard Sherman, a comeback corner this year. Hats off to Joe Hayden, who was elected to his 4th Pro Bowl. Not elected, excuse me. Who is now in his 4th Pro Bowl, who just got the nod this week. So I want to go ahead and bring that up because once again, it's still a Steelers show. But with that
That's
being
a guy,
said,
by the way, who's had a tremendous career. And I don't think people, especially people, on like national radio, I don't think that Joe Hayden gets talked about for how incredible of a career he's had. And he should be because he really has had a sensational career. And I think he's going to be doing it for a lot longer. I mean, I think this is a guy who, could have maybe 3 to 5 more years of playing superb football. So, yeah, I mean, definitely always deserves a lot of mention because he's had a great career.
his interceptions, he was among the league leaders with 5, and it happened mostly in the second half of the year. I believe they were all in the second half, week 9 and on. But with that being said, Nick, we're going to get ready to wrap up the show. So let's talk about San Francisco, Green Bay. What's your final score, and who's going to the show?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think the play calling is going to be great. And one little side note, I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the best offensive play callers in the league right now. I think he does a tremendous job, and you saw it last week against Minnesota. They really just totally dominated that game, and a lot of it was just the superb offensive play calling by Kyle Shanahan. He does a marvelous job. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be very well played, but I think they're going to trade back and forth a lot. But I think in the very end, I think San Francisco is going to win this game 27-24 over Green Bay. But I think it's going to be really close, and I think it's going to be maybe the best game of the playoffs so far.
Can you say that score again? Did you say 27-24?
27-24 49ers.
Okay, I went with 28-24. So once again, we're thinking alike, Nick.
And again, one more time, you and I did not talk about score predictions this week or before the show. So that's we're a point off right now.
So with that being said, so it's official. With that being said, it is going to be Green Bay and Tennessee in the Super Bowl because we'll both be wrong. So
yeah, more than likely, if I was a Green Bay fan or a Titan fan right now, I'd be feeling a lot more confident. I mean, I'd be walking a lot taller today and tomorrow saying, well, Bad Davis and Nick Bellino picked the Chiefs and the 49ers. So, I might need to be making my plans to go to South Beach for the Super Bowl.
There you go. Go to Joe's Crab Shack. Gosh, that's a reason to go to the Super Bowl alone. With that being said, Nick, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming in. And we will see you again next week as it's that bye week, but there's still going to be plenty to talk about. And we're going to talk about this weekend, and we're going to preview the upcoming Super Bowl. So can't wait to talk to you next week.
Look forward to it, Bad. My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Nick. And thank you to everybody in the live chat. It's great to have you here. When this has been recorded, it was recorded on Saturday afternoon at noon. But whenever you listen to it, we really appreciate it. Or if you're viewing, but remember, the way you could support this show is to go ahead and click like, subscribe on YouTube, tell a friend about it. We are at about 5,060 some odd subscribers. We're trying to get to that 6,000 mark by the start of the regular season. That's something that we're really excited about. And remember, ring that bell to have notifications to know every time that we have one of these podcasts. Because if you want to listen to me, BAD, or Nick Bellino, or you want to listen to The Hangover with myself and Tony Defio, you can listen to the editor, Jeff Hartman. Jeff Hartman, he has shows all week long, along with Sir Lancelot Williams, representing NoCal and Pittsburgh at the same time. And also Dave Schofield, Big Bro Sco. We've got 6 of us here. Who knows who's going to be on next? We really appreciate you, but we can't do any of this without all of you in the live chat and all of you that support this show. So thank you, BTSC family. You mean a lot to us. With that being said,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And with that being said, for Nick Bellino, I'm Bryan Anthony Davis, and you, my friends, have just been previewed. Have a great week.